Hello and good morning, everyone. We will continue from where we have left last time. So last time we have seen the N-channel MOSFET operation in the cutoff region, in the linear region, and in the edge of saturation region, right? And now we will see today case number 5, which is beyond saturation. Fine. So what are the conditions for beyond saturation? Your gate to source voltage must be greater than VTO. Your source voltage and the body substrate voltage is 0. Your drain to source voltage must be greater than your gate to source voltage. Gate to source voltage and minus VTO. So the channel which will be created, it will be completely disappearing from the drain end. So let us investigate how it happens and why it happens. Fine. So let us start by analyzing it. So as soon as you apply your gate to source voltage greater than your threshold voltage, your surface underneath the SiO2 interface becomes inverted. So that means an inversion layer is formed. That means the L channel is capable of carrying the current. But now when we apply VDS beyond VGS minus VTO, what happens to this N channel? Okay, so we know that for VDS equal to VGS minus VTO, N channel exists between the source and drain, but QI, that is the inversion charge, is 0 at the drain end. Okay, so if VDS is beyond VGS minus VTO, definitely there will be a channel at the source end, but there will be no channel existing near the drain end. Okay, so let us see that with an example now. So here is the example given. Let me just expand it a little. So concentrate now very carefully. So here we consider that the gate to source voltage over here is 1 volt and the threshold voltage is 0.5 volt, correct? And my drain to source voltage is 0.8 volts. Fine. Now let's see what happens to the channel and how does the gate to channel voltage is varying along the channel. Fine. So I know that the channel will exist as long as first of all VGS should be greater than VTO, correct? And also it requires that the gate to channel voltage is greater than or equal to 0 for N channel to exist. Okay, so let's calculate the gate to channel voltage along the length of the channel. Fine. So at the source end, the source terminal is connected to the ground, right? So what is VGC over here? And what is the formula for VGC? VGC is given by VGS minus VTO minus VDS. Again I repeat, VGC is given by VGS minus VTO minus VDS, correct? So over here at the extreme left near the source side, we have VDS equal to 0. That means VDS is not, source voltage is 0, right? So what will be the gate voltage over here? VGS minus VTO minus 0. That means 0.5. So over here we have VGC, which is gate to channel voltage, as 0.5 volt. Okay. And as we move away from the channel, let's calculate the gate to channel voltage at the drain end. Correct. So at the drain end, we say that your VGC is given by 1 minus 0.5 minus 0.8, and if you calculate that, that comes out to be minus 0.3. So we have already seen that for channel to be formed, your VGC should be at least 0 volt, and right now it is minus 0.3. So that means definitely no channel exists at the drain end, since VGC, that is gate to channel voltage, is not equal to 0 or greater than. So let's find out where does the channel density drop to 0. That means let's find out the point where VGC is 0. So VGC might be 0 somewhere away from the source region. This is the the drain region. This is the N plus drain region. So your VGC will be 0 somewhere away from this region. Somewhere, let's say somewhere equal to L dash, this green color line which I have drawn. So over here my gate to channel voltage is 0. That means my inversion charge is 0. That means this point might be along the channel away from the drain end, but a little where your inversion charge is 0, right? Inversion charge is 0 when your gate to channel voltage is 0. So remember one thing, your drain to source voltage is changing from 0.8 volt to 0 volt along the channel. Okay, That's why accordingly gate to channel voltage is also changing. So what is the effect of this? As we go on increasing the value of VDS, your pinch off point, you remember where QI is equal to 0 and VGC is equal to 0, that point is called as the pinch off point, correct, where the inversion charge is just equal to 0. Since VGC is equal to 0, what is QI given by? QI is given by Cox into VGC, which is also equal to 0. So that particular point at which the QI becomes 0 is the pinch off point. So as the drain to source voltage increases, your pinch off point moves slightly away from the drain terminal. That proves the point that no channel exists at the drain end. Now, therefore the inversion charge density Qi at the drain end reduces to 0. That means the N channel vanishes near the drain end. Okay. So again I repeat, the point at which the inversion charge density becomes 0, that is Qi becomes 0, is called as the pinch off point. That means now the pinch off point has moved away from the drain region. Fine. So this regime of operation is called as beyond saturation mode of operation, where your current ID remains almost constant, and this is valid only when your VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO. Okay. So now let us analyze this detail. There should be one question in your mind: if there is no channel existing near the drain end, how does the current flow? Correct? So to answer that question, let's proceed forward. So before going to that, let's see the beyond saturation mode of operation, the characteristics. So you see 0 to 0.1 volt was, a linear region, correct? Again, the linear region was extended to 0.1 to 0.3. Again, it was a linear region. The slope was reducing as we going on increasing. And when we got VDS equal to 0.5, we got edge of saturation region. That means VDS was equal to VGS minus VTO. That exactly at 0.5. And now we have increased it to 0.8. What has happened? The current has remained constant. So next 5 minutes we will discuss how does the current remains constant in the beyond saturation mode of operation. So the condition for the device to be in beyond saturation mode is as follows. Your VGS should be greater than VTO and your VDS should be greater than VGS minus VTO. So next question is, when no channel exists near the drain end, what will happen to the electrons in the, will they travel towards the drain or will the device conduct any current? So let's try to answer the following questions in the following discussion. Fine. Let me just go back over here. Okay, fine. Let me also change it accordingly. So let's look at this thing carefully, right? So far we have never discussed about the depletion layer. Okay, so what happens is, in reality is, your depletion layer, you have a depletion region also present, right? Your depletion layer exists between the body, which is the P silicon, and the source. Source is N plus, right? So this is a P N plus junction, and it also exists between the body and the drain terminal. So drain region is also N plus region. So again you have a PN junction over here, and we know whenever we have a PN junction, whenever PN junction is reverse bias, its depletion region increases. Now don't you think over here your VDS is positive, right? That means you're reverse biasing this PN junction. Which PN junction? The P silicon substrate and the drain region, N plus drain region. So your depletion region is more, the width is more at the drain end due to the applied positive, which makes this P N plus region more reverse bias as compared to body source. See, body source, your source is connected to ground and your body is also connected to ground. So there will be a depletion region, but that will be fairly less. And that will be fairly independent of the drain voltage basically, correct? But near the drain end, we are constantly increasing the value of drain to source voltage. So what happens? This depletion region is extending more and more. Actually, this image is over exaggerated. The distance, I mean the thickness or the width of the P silicon substrate is very much larger. It's actually more. Here I have shown very closer, but it's very large as compared to this. Now, to answer the question, what happens to the current when the channel vanishes? And now let us answer this question. Okay, so beyond the pinch off point for VGS, let me just bring it. Yeah, so beyond the pinch off point, that is when VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO, your depletion region grows wider towards the drain end with increasing VDS. That we have seen already. So what happens is, due to high reverse bias of body drain P N plus region, a high electric field exists between the channel end and the N plus drain region, which is directed from right to left, as you can see over here marked in the red color. So under the influence of such high electric field, the electrons which are arriving from the source region, they enter the channel N channel end and are accelerated towards the drain region. So basically what really happens is, under the influence of this very high electric field, we know that in a PN junction, under reverse bias, the electric field is very powerful. Okay, so many electrons which are coming from the source region, they enter the channel and they reach the end of the channel. Now they have no channel present, but under the influence of this high electric field, these electrons becomes high energy electrons. And now under the influence, now always remember, electrons always will go away from the electric field. So since the electric field is directed from right to left, electrons will try to run away from the electric field from left to right. So since the electric field is so powerful, these electrons even without the channel will travel to the N plus region. Okay, but we have to understand, I said the word accelerated, but eventually when they reach the drain ends, they will maintain a constant velocity. I will talk about that. So again I repeat the point, because the VDS, the drain to source voltage is very high reverse bias, which is reverse biasing the P silicon substrate and the N plus drain region, we have a very high depletion region bit over here. Due to that, we have a very high electric field. Due to that, what happens? The electrons which are entering the source from the source region to the N channel end are accelerated towards the drain region. Okay, without an actual channel being present. Okay, so that is what is happening really. So the electrons, I will make a statement now. The electrons which are coming into the drain region are of constant drift velocity. Okay, and this constant drift velocity is making the drain current saturate. Saturate means it makes it constant. Now you will ask, you told about it's accelerating and now it's saturating. No, just imagine a situation. Let's say, let's say a free falling object is being placed, just drop from a sky, let's say from 6th building. Now you will say that this thing, that object will be accelerating towards the ground, right? Yeah, correct. But eventually, let's say if you are falling from a plane with a parachute. Now what happens? As soon as you are falling down, you are accelerating towards the, moving towards the ground at a very high rate, at an accelerating rate. But what really happens is, when you open the parachute, balloon or parachute, so what happens? You maintain a steady pace. You don't accelerate. You just maintain a steady, constant velocity. So same thing happens over here. You see, the electrons don't only travel straight to the drain in a straight path. They hit the surface also. So these electrons might hit the SI-SiO2 interface and their velocity and the acceleration might decrease. Correct? So the mobilities, or the mobility means the ease of movement of these carriers. So the electrons which are there in the bulk region and the electrons which are there inside the N region, N channel, have different mobilities. So what happens? They hit around, and inside the crystal you don't have only electrons. You have a lot of other charge carriers also. You have immobile ions also. So these electrons might lose momentum. So they were accelerating, but the moment, by the time they reach the N plus region, they will reach a constant drift velocity. Okay, so that is the reason why the electrons which are coming into the drain region are of constant drift velocity, and that is the reason why it saturates the drain current. So drain current do exist, your ID do flow in a MOSFET, but it will remain constant. Okay, so let us try to understand this concept. Fine. So you can see this electric field over here. Fine. So electric field is very, very powerful. Now what is electric field? Is voltage upon length. So electrons over here, let's say this electrons in the n channel has to travel a small m distance to reach the drain side, correct? So in order to reach the drain side, the electrons have to travel a smaller distance, right? So electrons are under the high electric field will reach the drain, correct? Now you see electric field is very, very high. Why? Because first of all, your drain to source voltage is very high due to reverse bias and m is very small. So that means if the numerator is increasing and the denominator is decreasing, the electric field will be very, very high. And there is a relation between the electric field and the drift velocity. So they go on increasing with a linear rate at lower electric fields. But as soon as you reach a higher electric field, the drift velocity will attain a constant value. Let's say around 10 raised to 7 centimeter per second. Okay. So drift velocity is given by the relation Vd is equal to mu times E, where mu is the mobility. That means your electric field, your drift velocity is proportional to your electric field for low electric field. And when they reach a saturated value of your drift velocity, they will attain a constant value. The drift velocity will remain constant with the electric field. So that's the reason why, even beyond the saturation region, your drain current will flow even without the channel, but it will remain constant. Okay. So what really happens is just a gist of it. So that exists no channel near the drain end, but the electrons what it will do, they will just drift away towards the n plus region under the influence of very high electric field, but they will attain a constant drift velocity. That's why the drain current is constant. That is the reason why you see over here in this we have a cutoff region where we have VGS less than VTO. We have a linear or a triode region where VGS is less than VDS is less than VGS minus VTO. We have a edge of saturation where we can say that your VDS is equal to VGS minus VTO, and we have saturation region or beyond saturation region where VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO. Okay. So this is the output and drain characteristics which we have normally see for a MOSFET, and we can get a family of curves for a different values of VGS. Okay. So this completes the explanation for the what really happens when we go on increasing the drain to source voltage in a n channel enhancement MOSFET. Any doubts? I'll give 5 seconds for you all to respond. If anyone has a doubt, kindly raise your hand, or else just write in the meeting chat that you all are comfortable and I can move ahead. So can I move ahead?
Hand raise किसी का नहीं है.
Okay. So I will continue now.
Yeah.
I'll just So we'll just take a break of 5 seconds, biological break of 5 to 10 seconds, and then we'll continue. Let me arrange the PDFs till that time. So you can stretch on, look away from the computer. Don't constantly stare at the screens. Just relax your eyes for some time. Till then I'll prepare everything and keep it ready. Okay, I guess you all have relaxed a little bit now. So let us begin with a very important topic, which is gradual channel approximation. So it is valid for long channel MOSFETs, and it's an important approximation which will help us derive the drain current equation in a MOSFET. Now so far we have discussed the MOSFET operation, but we require a relation between the drain current and the gate to source voltage and the drain to source voltage. That how does the equation, how do they relate, right? How they are related with in the form of equation. So basically we will derive the drain current equation of a MOSFET, n channel MOSFET enhancement type, for a linear region as well as saturation region. Okay, for cutoff it is 0 only, right? So let us begin. So what is this gradual channel approximation is? It will simplify. Basically, see, transistor is a 2D device. This is just a the 1D structure, one dimensional structure. So current flow is actually in two-dimensional, but it's very difficult to derive that two-dimensional current flow. So we convert this GCA, gradual channel approximation, will reduce the analysis of two-dimensional MOS transistor current flow to a one-dimensional current flow. That will be relatively easy and it will also match with the experimental results. Meaning, if you use these formulas with the actual MOSFET, the results which it gives are closely matching with the experimental result. So basically, GCA will help us establishing the MOSFET IV characteristics along with the current equation. So what are the outcomes of the GCA? Gradual channel approximation. The outcomes are we can derive the expression for ID linear, we can derive the expression for ID saturation, and we can deduce the characteristics of IV characteristics, N-channel MOSFET. Okay, so if you wish, you can draw this in your books or you can just take a print screen. It is because it is very, very important. I'll keep this one window open and one screen will be always on. I will revolve around. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and start now. So we are actually considering a cross-sectional view of an N-channel MOSFET operating in the linear or a triad region. We already know what will happen, that N-channel will be slightly tapered near the drain end. Okay, so what all the things are there? We have applied VGS less than VTO. We have applied VDS less than VGS minus VTO so that the MOSFET operates in the linear region or the triode region. And we have marked over here P silicon substrate. So we have a channel which is tapered at the at the drain end, which is the N plus drain region and N plus source region. We can show over here. And these are the two electric fields, EX and EY. Okay, and this small light green color thing is my depletion layer. Very obvious that it's slightly more at the drain end because we have applied a small drain to source voltage, and the current starts flowing from the drain terminal and it moves out of the source terminal. Basically, the electron flows from the source terminal to the drain terminal, hence the conventional current is opposite. Fine. So let us start. So let us give the description. So over here Vs is 0, Vb is 0. That means there is no substrate bias. Vsb is 0. Correct? Your VDS and VGS controls the drain current. Okay, it's a voltage control device. Remember, MOSFET is a voltage control device. So your gate to source voltage controls the amount of current. Also your drain to source voltage also controls the certain amount of drain current. Fine. So over here we have the VGS greater than VTO. What is VTO? VTO is the threshold voltage. Now remember, let's say about the doping concentration. So we have a high doping concentration for the source and drain region. That is ND is around 10⁻18 per centimeter cube. And we have a moderate doping for a P silicon substrate, and that is around 10⁻15 to 10⁻16 per centimeter cube. Okay, so per unit volume we can say. So you need to remember why we write here N plus. N plus stands for that the doping is much higher as compared to the substrate doping. Okay, with these description, let us proceed. So there are certain assumptions. There are a lot of assumptions we make over here. It's an approximation, right? So the first assumption is the VGS greater than VTO is required to create the inversion layer between the source and the drain. So that is the underlying assumption that the VGS is greater than VTO is enough to create an inversion layer between the source and the drain, the orange color inversion layer or the N channel. Now, let me expand a little bit more. So at x equal to 0 is at source end of the channel. So when we say x equal to 0, that means source end of the channel. And x equal to L, we say it is a drain end of the channel. So whenever we use x equal to 0, it is the source end, x equal to L is the drain end of the channel. Now, the threshold voltage is constant along the entire channel region. So this is another assumption which we are making. The threshold voltage is constant along the entire channel region. Now, there is one more assumption, the EX, the electric field in the X direction is dominant as compared to EY. Now what is EX and EY? EX is the electric field in the X direction, which we call it as a lateral electric field, and EY is the electric field in the Y direction. Now what is EY doing? So with the help of EY, that is electric field in the y direction, what it do? It will help whenever you apply VGS voltage, it will help the minority carrier electrons to get attracted near the SiO2 interface. So it will pull the electrons towards the SiO2 interface under the influence of EY. And what does EX? EX do? The electric field in the X direction. So in opposite X direction basically, it's flowing from right to left. So what it will do? Whenever we apply a drain to source voltage, it will help the electrons to go from the source region to the drain region. Remember, electric field, electrons move away from the electric field. So if the electric field is directed from right to left, electron will go from left to right. So under the influence of EX, the current flows from the source region to the drain region and leave out from the drain terminal. I mean, they enter the drain, the electrons leave out from the drain terminal, correct? So that is what we are assuming key. The EX is more dominant as compared to EY. Okay. Then we say that the entire, another assumption is the entire channel region between the source and the drain is inverted. Okay, the entire channel region is inverted. Fine. Inverted means it's filled with minority carrier electrons. And the last assumption is the drain current is due to the electrons in the channel region traveling from source to drain region under the influence of EX only. So that's what I said. When the electrons go from the, they enter the source region. They leave from the source region, they enter the channel region, and they reach the drain region. Okay, and that is happening under the influence of EX. So let us start. So let us see what is the starting point now. So the starting point is that to find the current flowing in the MOSFET, we need to know the charge, the inversion charge Qi in the inversion layer. Okay, so this charge Qi of X, which is a function of X, is the total mobile electron charge in the inversion layer. That means your inversion layer is actually a function of distance. Yes, that means inversion charge is also a function of distance along the channel. Since your VDS, your drain to source voltage, is varying from source to drain. Okay, so let us define a channel voltage Vc of X, which is also a function of potential. Okay, now the channel voltage, okay, channel voltage of X, it's a function of X. So what can we have? Can we have this boundary conditions? Boundary conditions for the channel voltage are channel voltage at X equal to 0, that is at the source and the 0. And the channel voltage at X equal to L is VDS. Okay, so this is what we will do. So okay, fine. So next what we will have is, since we have defined the two boundary conditions now, Vc of X equal to 0 is 0 and the channel voltage at X equal to L is VDS, the applied drain to source voltage will produce a varying channel voltage, which is Vc of X along the channel, going from 0 volt at the source and going to VDS at the drain. So this potential tends to reverse bias the channel, the N-type channel, to the substrate, p-silicon substrate. So remember, this is also N channel. So we have a PN junction here also formed. Okay, so please remember that. Now we will approximate this channel behavior. This you can see, if you see carefully, this is like not a rectangle, it's like a trapezoidal behavior. So we'll approximate the channel behavior like this. You see on your right hand side of your screens, this channel is drawn over here. This is the 2D structure of the channel. Okay, what is the description? This is a simplified geometry of the inversion layer. So you see over here, this is the source end, N plus source end, and this is the N plus drain end, and this is the width of the channel. The length of the channel is this, X equal to 0 and X equal to L. Okay, so this is how the channel will look like actually. So we are just concentrating on that now. Okay, so I'll keep the figure on the left hand side open, and we will move on the right hand side with the equations. Fine with it? Okay, so let us continue. So the inversion charge Qi of X can be expressed as a function of VGS and as a function of channel voltage Vc of X. Okay, so you remember what is charge given by? Charge is given by C into V, correct? So your amount of the inversion charge is a function of distance, is given by Cox, don't worry about the minus sign, Cox into V. Now what is the channel voltage? Earlier I have also told, right, the channel voltage will be VGS minus VTO, and what will be the total voltage over here in the inversion charge? VGS minus VTO minus VC of X. Okay, so this is the total amount of voltage, correct? So Q is equal to C into V. So this is the V over here, and this we call it equation number 1, which is charge per centimeter square. I missed out the centimeter square over here. Okay, no problem. So why the minus sign in equation number 1? Minus sign refers to the fact that the charge in the semiconductor, that is the N channel MOSFET, is negative. Okay, so that is what we refer over here, because this inversion layer is made up of electrons and the charge on the electrons is negative. That is why Qi will be minus of Cox into VGS minus VTO minus VC of X. Okay, and among all this, what is the function of distance? Vc, the channel voltage, is a function of distance. Now, what we do is, we consider a small segment over here of the N channel and a small tukra of your inversion layer, and whose distance is dx, and the amount of charge, the elemental charge over here, is dqi, dqi dash. So what is the dqi charge given by the amount of charge qi, the total charge, into w into dx. Okay, so we will consider an incremental distance for an incremental charge dqi dash. So what will be dqi dash? Qi, which is the total inversion charge, into w over here, this charge is present along the width of the channel, and dx, this is the thickness, okay, the distance. So now we will rewrite this expression as, so dq, if you consider the small area over here, small segment, correct? So what will be dqi dash? Dqi dash will be Cox into VGS minus VTO minus VC of X. Same thing will come, but in addition we will have W into dx. Okay, so that is our equation number 3. Fine. Now what we do is, if we have a small segment and if we integrate this small segment, what do you mean by integration? Covering the whole area. So we'll revolve this small segment from the source end to the drain end, and we'll get the total area. And how do we do that? By integrating it. So we'll integrate this equation number 3 with respect to time. We'll get dq, I'll expand this a little, dqi dash upon dt will be equal to minus Cox VGS minus VTO minus VC of X, bracket close, W dx upon dt. Okay, this is our equation number 4. Okay, and what is current given by? What is current actually? Current is actually rate of change of charge, that is dq by dt. Correct, and in this case our drain current will be actually dqi dash divided by dq, which is, our drain current is independent of position. We don't have an x term over here. Okay, so this was our equation number 4. Fine. So far any doubts? You all can raise your hand. I'll wait for 5 seconds. If you have no doubts, you can write no doubts. Okay.
हैंड रेज नहीं है सर.
Okay, sir. Okay, I will proceed now. So you just remember that this dqi dash upon dt is nothing but your drain current. Okay, so with that fact, let us come back to this. So this is the same equation which I have written over here. Now, your dx by dt is nothing but your drift velocity, the velocity with which the carriers are traveling. So the drift velocity we have already seen, it's the relation we have mu1 into Ex, because we are only considering the electric field in the x direction. Now what is drift velocity? The drift velocity is the average velocity of electrons in the channel. It doesn't happen that all the electrons are traveling with the same drift velocity. No, it's the average velocity of the electrons inside the channel. Okay, and mu1 is the mobility of electrons. And what is Ex given by? Ex is given by minus dVc by dx. Actually this is dx. By mistake it is written C, it is dx. Okay, dVc by dx, which is the lateral electric field. So what will be dx by dt? Dx by dt will be Vd, which is minus mu1 into dVc by dx. Okay, minus sign is coming because of the electrons. Okay, electric field is directed in the reverse direction. I mean this here we have a minus sign here itself, right? So that's why the minus sign is coming. I hope that you all have got the point for equation number 6. So dx by dt is nothing but the drift velocity, and what is Ex given by minus dVc by dx, and Vc is the channel voltage. Fine. It depends upon the channel voltage, which is depending upon the VDS voltage. So over here, let me just slightly reduce this. Okay. So here we assume that also there is one more assumption which I missed out. We assume that all the mobile electrons in the inversion layer has a constant surface mobility. You remember I talked about that the electrons will hit the SiO2 interface and they lose some mobility, right? The mobility is not the same, but here we are assuming that all the mobile electrons in the inversion layer have the constant surface mobility. That means mu n over here is a constant. Okay, so that we put it in, we'll put now equation number 6 in equation number 5. That means wherever we have dx by dt, we'll replace it by minus mu n dvc by dx. So that is what exactly we have done over here. If we replace that, this minus sign and this minus sign will disappear. And what do we get? Id will be equal to mu n cox w, these are the constants, into vgs minus vto minus vc of x into dvc by dx. That is what we will get. So we'll just take this dx that side, we'll get equation number 7. Now what we do? Now we'll integrate this equation number 7 along the channel from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. You remember we are finding the area. So we'll move this segment around from source to the drain region. We'll find the complete expression of ID now. So equation number 7 we will integrate from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. So Vc of x will accordingly change from 0 to Vds as we move along the channel. Okay, is this point clear? So the integration limits over here will be integration of x equal to 0 to L id dx, and here on the right hand side we will have integration of Vc, which is going from 0 to Vds. Actually it is Vds over here, I missed out S term, Vds, and mu and cox term will come then into W term has also missed out over here, Vgs minus Vto minus Vc into dVc. Okay, so what do we have over here? We have id into L, because you will have id into x, where x goes from 0 to L. So we have id into L, and on the right hand side we have mu and cox w, w is there, I missed out over here, w is there over here, into Vgs minus Vto minus Vc, right, minus Vc square upon 2. Okay, so because we have dVc, we are integrating for dVc. So we have this Vgs minus this is normal integration, Vgs minus Vto minus Vc minus Vc square by 2. And what is Vc? Going from 0 to Vds. So we get the expression of id as mu and cox w by L into Vgs minus Vto into Vds minus Vds square upon half. And normally we use this equation, the equation number 8. id linear is given by half mu and cox w by L into twice Vgs minus Vto into Vds minus Vds square. I want all of you all to kindly note down this formula. I will wait. I'll wait for you all. I'll give you all around 10 seconds to note down this formula. Kindly note down this formula, and we have derived the drain current equation for the NMOS operating in the linear or the triode region. Quickly note down the formula. So this formula, this expression for id linear is valid under only two conditions. Vgs should be greater than Vto and Vds should be less than Vgs minus Vto. So this is the region of validity for expression number 8. So these two conditions will guarantee that the entire channel region between the source and the drain is inverted. Okay, so this is extremely important equation. I hope that you all have noted it down. It is half mu and cox w by L, which are constants basically, twice Vgs minus Vto into Vds minus Vds square. Okay, so this completes the derivation for the drain current in the linear region. Now, this is the drain current in the linear region. So we are defining a new term over here, Kn by 2. Okay, where Kn is mu on cox w by L, which is called as the device gain, and Kn itself can be written as Kn dash into w by L, where Kn dash will be mu n into cox. Okay, so kindly remember this. Now, under GCA, the drain current in the saturation region is determined under the following conditions. So you remember just now we have derived this formula ID equal to half mu n Cox W by L twice VGS minus VTO into VDS, correct? You just replace VDS equal to VGS minus VTO in the expression number 8. So this is the expression number 8. Wherever you see VDS, substitute there VGS minus VTO. Okay. So if you do that, I have written in the orange color. So you will get twice VGS minus VTO square minus VGS minus VTO square. So what you will get ultimately, the ID sat, that is the saturation region drain current equation for the MOSFET operating in saturation, is given by half mu n Cox W by L into VGS minus VTO the whole square. Now also note down this formula. So this is the formula derived under the gradual channel approximation. Okay. So the formula over here says that your ID sat is dependent on only VGS. It's a function of VGS only. And this ID sat is independent of drain to source voltage. That means it will be a constant. Correct? Now let us see the characteristics. Yeah, this is the characteristics. To adjust this slightly, I think making it 25 will be good. So the region of validity, correspondingly, the region of validity for the saturation region equation is VGS should be greater than or equal to VTO and VDS should be greater than or equal to VGS minus VTO. Okay. So this equation number 9 is an approximate value for the drain current to be in saturation. Fine. Now let us analyze what are the various learnings from this NMOS output characteristics. We have various observations which we have. So for very small values of VDS, your ID increases linearly with VDS. Okay. So the ID reaches a peak value at VDS equal to VGS minus VTO. At this point of time, NMOS is said to be in the onset of saturation. So we have 3 curves over here for 3 different values of VGS. Okay. For VGS less than VTO, we have the cutoff region which is shown on the x-axis itself. Fine. So let's consider this point over here. Whenever VDS reaches VGS minus VTO, you have the onset of saturation. So your equation number 8 which we have derived, the validity is 0, VDS should be between 0 and VGS minus VTO, less than VGS minus VTO, right? So the region over here, wherever the VDS value is less than VGS minus VTO is called as the linear or the triode region over here, which we see over here, right? And the region for VGS less than VTO is called as the cutoff region, and for the cutoff region the drain current is 0. Okay, so the locus of all points where the drain current reaches maximum and where we call it as this locus is called as VGS minus VTO locus. You see over here in the x-axis we have VGS1 minus VTO, VGS2 minus VTO, VGS3 minus VTO, where the drain current reaches maximum for that particular value of VGS. Okay, so this green color is called as the locus and this is a parabolic in nature. So beyond VDS, whenever VDS drain to source voltage is increased beyond this VGS minus VTO, your device has entered into saturation region. Okay, and when the device enters into saturation, the drain current remains constant. As it is evident from the formula, we have derived a formula over here. There is no expression of VDS over here. That means your ID sat is independent of VDS. That means it remains constant. Okay, so ID is independent of drain to source voltage in the saturation region, and the region beyond greater than VGS minus VTO is called as the saturation region of the MOSFET. Okay, so these are the importance learning. Now I will spend 2 more minutes on one more slide. Now this is what we have derived so far. I mean the summary of it in a gist. So this is the NMOS enhancement terminal currents and voltages, VGS, VTS, everything is given. And these are the 3 equations, drain current equations, which are derived under gradual channel approximation. ID of is 0, there is a cutoff region, ID linear is this expression under these conditions, and ID sat is given by this expression under these conditions. Okay, so it's very, very important, it's very crucial that the outcome of this GCA is this expression and this curve over here which you see over here. Okay, So, I mean, there are few more things which I want to discuss, which I quickly will complete it within 2 minutes. So, what are the learnings from equation number 8 and this figure number 1.3? Okay, this is figure number 1.3 is that following. So, ideal linear is this expression, okay, but under some special condition. What is that condition? If VDS is less than, much less than twice VGS minus VTO, that is for very low values of VDS, we see that we get a straight line in this, right? And as we go on increasing the VDS value, the slope keeps on reducing. So this is the ID versus VDS curve for lower values of VDS, okay? So if you have this condition, that is VDS is much less as compared to twice VGS minus VTO, what we can say is equation number 1 can be approximated to this form. And now this form, you see there is no quadratic. See, in this equation number 8 we have a quadratic term. That's why the curve was non-linear. But here if you see equation number A, it's approximately a constant, right? Mu and Cox is a constant, W by L is a constant, right? And over here we have no term which is quadratic term. That's why equation number A will describe the linear behavior between ID and VDS. Now we just have to differentiate this equation number A with respect to VDS. So what you will have, mu and Cox W by L VGS minus VTO. The VDS term will disappear. When R on is the on-state resistance of the MOSFET. R on is given by delta VDS upon delta ID. So that will be 1 divided by mu and Cox W by L into VGS minus VTO. Okay. So what can we determine is at low values of VDS, your NMOS behaves like a linear resistor having the resistance R on, which is value is given over here. So R on can be varied or tuned by changing VGS. We can say that the R on is also known as the electronically tunable resistor. So therefore, your NMOS can act as a voltage dependent resistor for very small values of VDS, and this is one of the very important applications of MOSFET. MOSFET can act as a resistor also. So this is the proof of it. Okay, and from this figure 1.4 we can also say that as the drain to source voltage increases, your ID does not increase linearly but starts reducing slightly. Now why this happens? This happens because, as we already know, the inversion charge near the drain region keeps on reducing. The reason for the ID fall, ID slope reduces over here. It reduces earlier it was increasing at a linear rate at very small values of VDS, but as we go on increasing the drain to source voltage, the current falls down. So the reason for that is that as the VDS increases, there is less inversion charge near the drain region. So as a consequence, the resistance of the channel starts increasing. Okay. So as the slopes keeps on reducing, the resistance of the offered by the channel keeps on slightly increasing. Okay. So these are the main reasons. And very quickly, another MOSFET application as a switch. So ideal switch has a zero resistance when on and have an infinite resistance when it is off. So MOSFET can be turned on and off by applying VGS voltage. Okay. So let's say if you turn on a MOSFET, when do you turn on a MOSFET? Whenever VGS is greater than VT on, and whenever you turn off the MOSFET, whenever VGS is less than VT on. So MOSFET can have a finite on-state resistance when it is on. Therefore, it deviates slightly from the ideal switch. Therefore, a very powerful application of MOSFET is that it can serve as a switch. That means it can be turned on and off just by applying a high voltage at the gate, that is VGS greater than VTO, and a low voltage at the gate whenever VGS is less than VTO. That means MOSFET also behaves as a switch, which can be controlled electronically by varying the value of VGS. Okay, so we have seen various applications of MOSFET. The MOSFET can also behave as an amplifier. It can behave as a switch. It can also behave as an electronically controlled resistor. So in the next class, that's all for today. Next class we'll discuss and analyze how does the MOSFET will behave for large values of VDS. Particularly, we'll answer these 3 questions: how the drain current will get affected, does the shape of the N channel change, and will it affect the output IV characteristics. So technically, the behavior of the MOSFET for large VDS value will be covered, and that will be the topic, that is channel length modulation. So the 2 possible outcomes will be the modified expression of drain current in saturation region and the modified output IV characteristics. That we will see next time. That is all for today. I will stop the recording and I'll see if you have any questions. I'll unmute you all so that if you have any questions, you'll